We're going to do a quick video on the loaner checkout extra here in Sassafras AllSight. First, we'll do a quick walkthrough, and then we'll show you how to install it, configure it, and use it. So this is the loaner checkout page. You see loaner checkout under extras. And on this page, this is kind of the home page of the extra. There are currently 13 computers available to loan and 4 devices. There are 4 computers on loan currently, as well as 3 devices, and all 7 of those devices and computers are currently overdue, none due within a week. So it's kind of an introduction to the front end of this UI. To check something out, I just select one of these ready to loan options. It really takes me to the same page, computers on top, devices down below. I can scan a barcode into this search field, and if it represents a serial number or a asset ID, it's going to basically filter this page down to what I'm searching for. When I'm ready, select the computer and or device that I'm checking out, checkout selected, and I can drop in a name here. And what you'll see here when I select the user, it's going to populate some additional details. A couple things about this. The first thing is we have an integration that will pull in details from Active Directory. We have another one that will pull in user details from Azure AD. One of those things that can be pulled in is actually an external ID number. So similar to what we did a second ago, you could scan an ID card, and if it represents an external ID, actually search out a user that way. And secondly, the rest of these details populated because the user record in this instance of AllSight has imported those additional details from either Active Directory or Azure AD. So that's a separate script. I will mention it again towards the end where you install and set that up, but that's secondary to the loaner checkout extra. That just allows you to quickly populate the details without having to type everything in manually. So once I'm ready to check out these devices to this user, I can have them sign down below, click complete, and now it's out in their name. The system will have sent an email out to that user. It will send reminder emails and overdue emails out as well after it's due back if they haven't returned it. And there's some other cool things that you can do. So that's how to use it. Now let's jump over to this other server where it hasn't actually even been installed yet. And we're going to come and look down here under settings on this extras page. These are all the web UI extras or plugins that you can add to the web interface. You probably know there's no charge to use any of these additional features. They're all built into the product. And all we're going to do is click to install the loaner checkout extra. If you don't see the extras page up above settings, so we're down here now, currently on this server we see extras with all the ones that we've previously installed. You just need to refresh the page. If this is the first of these extras you've ever installed, then you won't even see this extras page here until at least one of them has been installed. Also, if you don't see extras under settings, or maybe you don't even see the settings page at all, that's because your permissions in your instance are not sufficient to allow you to add or edit the extras. So you'll need to reach out to the primary admin of your AllSight instance to either get those things adjusted or have them both install this for you and maybe modify your permissions to give you the ability to actually use the loaner checkout extra. So now that we've installed it, we're going to come here and just verify. Okay, here it is. We see there's already some computers in this server checked out. Part of the reason is because I uninstalled it for the sake of this video. Another part of the reason, if we go into the settings in the top right corner, is that we're still looking at the default selections for the available to loan and the currently on loan drop downs here. One thing most customers will do is actually create their own new life cycle stages that they can select from this list to kind of identify their loan pool independent of any of the default life cycle stages. You can leave it like this, but just for the case where this might be the approach you want to take, we're going to sidestep slightly and we're going to come to the main settings page, and we're looking at the columns page here. And down at the bottom, under life cycle stages, under deployed, we're going to call this on loan, and we're creating a new life cycle stage here. And then under stocked, we'll go ahead and add one called loan pool. Now you want to make sure that you are thinking this through and really do need to add these. It's very easy to add additional life cycle stages to the system, but it's not easy to delete them once they've been added. You can edit the label, but you're actually making big enough changes in the back end of the database that there isn't a delete button and there isn't an easy way to remove them once they've been added. So talk this through, consider this enough to make the decision. You know this is basically going to be a permanent change on the database to add these new life cycle stages. It's very simple though. Under settings, columns, drop in your subcategories under your primary life cycle stage. In this case, we've done the two that you see here. I clicked save. So now if we come back to the loaner checkout extra, we're going to be able to go into the settings and actually see those new life cycle stages listed here. So if it's available for loan, we're going to go with the loan pool option. And if it's currently on loan, we're going to choose the on loan option here. And now we're going to step through the rest of the settings, and then we'll come back and actually add some computers to the loan pool using these life cycle stages to show you what that looks like. And then we'll actually come back and use the loaner checkout module on this server to walk through that process in a little bit more detail. Okay, so let's step through the options here. So we just set up our life cycle stages we want to use. Add tag when overdue. Most of the time you're not going to use this. What this does though is if a computer goes overdue, you can automatically add a tag to that computer and then use that tag as a scope in a deny policy to actually block access to software to users that have kept their computers beyond the loan length. So if that's something that you would like to consider doing and you're not sure how to create a policy and scope it to a specific tag, reach out to support@sassafras.com and we can help you do that. We're not going to dive that deep in this intro video, but it's very straightforward once you know how to do it. Next thing is the default due date. So this is for computers. On the Times tab at the end, you can actually do different default loan lengths based on the device type. But if you just want to keep things with defaults, it's a default loan length of 14 days for computers and all other devices. Sometimes people will ask us if there's a way to make all loans due back on the same day. And the way you would do that is you would basically make the default loan length 365 days out, but then due date no longer than the date you would like for all loans to be returned. So let's say in this case, we wanted all loans to be due back on September 30th. Well, my default loan length is 365 days out, but it can't be beyond this. So that would essentially make all the loans between now and then due back on that date. Okay, hope that makes sense. Last thing we'll look at on this settings page is this require signature on file. Basically, this is whether or not you want to require the signature. You can leave it as or you can leave it as not required, or you can actually toggle this on, and in order to actually perform the checkout, the signature will be required. All right, let's jump over to the Terms tab. Very simple. If you've got a URL, maybe this is some other kind of e-sign form or a link to some standard terms and conditions page on another website. You can also drop in some text here as well for the loan terms. This will show up in the email that gets sent to confirm the loan, and you'll also see it on kind of the receipt page that we showed in the loaner checkout extra after the loan has been initiated. Okay, so I'll just drop that in there. The email tab. So there's a lot going on here potentially. Basically, what you need to know is that you're going to need to drop in a from address so that the email that goes out to the end user comes from whatever address you drop here. You can also make sure that a copy of the various emails that get sent out get CC'd to one of your admins, either as a CC or a BCC. And then you'll see there's actually 5 potential emails that will get sent out. 3 of them are kind of required. You see, I can't toggle this off. Check out, check in, and extend. The reminder email for upcoming due dates, you can choose to turn on, as well as overdue emails. Most people do turn these on. And then the other thing to know is that you can do a custom subject, and you can actually customize the content of those emails. There's a markdown editor that you can turn on. And then basically all of these dynamic fields are kind of like a mail merge. They're going to pull data from the database and automatically populate these fields for the loan. And then when the user receives the email, all the details are going to be populated. So basically, you can modify this if you want. And I'll go in and just sort of add a new line. Thanks for loaning some equipment. Right? I can make whatever changes. I can use some code in here to embed images or whatever I want to do. But you want to be careful because the syntax is very important to make sure that the details get embedded and you don't see any code or broken content in the email once it gets sent out. So be careful with copy paste. Be careful with making edits to what's here. It's relatively safe to just delete a line if you don't want something visible at all. And there may be some additional things you could add from the database that aren't here by default. Again, an area to reach out to the support department for more information. But this is kind of cool because it does allow you to customize the emails that get sent out. And then down at the bottom here, one last thing to mention is you can actually attach forms to the email. So in this case, there's a loaner use permit short form. And I'll show you that here once we get through the rest of these settings to give you an idea what that's all about. But what's cool about this is that you can embed the signature to that attached form. So when the user steps through the checkout process and at the last step they sign the form and submit or complete the checkout, it sends out an email that looks like this. And then there's an attached PDF that you can design. And part of that PDF can actually include the signature. All right, so we'll come back to this loaner use permit short form just to give you an idea of what that's all about here in a second. Okay, there's a checkout email, a check-in email, a loan extension email, a reminder email, and an overdue email. The reminders and overdues are kind of hard-coded when they get sent out. I believe it's 7, 4, and 1 days prior. And then the overdue emails are 1, 4, and 7 days after the due date. And then I think it continues to send emails until it gets returned after that. I'm going to kind of skip this filtering. For the most part, users are not necessarily going to need this. If you think you might need it, you can reach out to support. And we already touched on the various times for the different device types. So I'm going to click OK to apply these. And you see we go to no computers because we changed the lifecycle stage for the loan pool. So what we're going to do next is head to the computers page, and we're going to do one quick thing here. First of all, we're going to search up the loan computers. On this server, they all happen to have loan in the name. And one thing I want to show you is that they're broken up between two divisions. There's one division called loaner laptops. And then if I scroll down, there's another division called Cersei loaners. So what I'm going to do is first of all, select everything. And I'll just select the bottom one, hold shift and click on the top one, right click and choose quick edit. And I want to change the lifecycle stage to our loan pool lifecycle stage. Okay. So when I apply that, now the lifecycle stage has been changed to the one that we selected in the loaner checkout settings. So when I come back to the loaner checkout, I can see that all 73 computers are in this kind of global pool. One other thing I want to quickly show you is that I can come up to the filter here and choose a relevant division. Let's say one of the loaner checkout divisions like this one, and this gets filtered down to just one of those two groups. So that's how you can have two separate pools. There's a global pool of all computers that has the selected lifecycle stage, and then you can filter or scope the page to one of those two divisions. If you want to be a little bit more restrictive, individual accounts can have access to specific divisions so that a user assigned to check computers out in one loan pool can't also see and check out computers in another. It's a little bit deeper than we want to go in this beginner video, but just kind of be aware that that's there and reach out if you have questions on how to set that up. So I'm going to get rid of this scope and we're going to click to view the full list of available computers. Again, I could scan a barcode into the search bar and it would filter to the computer that has that name or serial number or asset ID. But in this case, I'm just going to randomly select an available computer to check out. Checkout selected. Now we're going to go ahead and check this computer out to a random user. Okay, and we've got some additional details populated for this user. I am still going to show you where to go for that script that allows you to import user information from Active Directory, but we're just going to step through this process one more time very quickly. So information is populated. I could manually add a note to this particular checkout here. The loan terms that we added in the loaner checkout settings are here. I allow the user to sign for this loan and click complete. And now this loan has gone out to that user. An email has been sent to his email address as well as to any CC or BCC address to admins that we added into settings. And I click OK. Very easy to use it. We see the one computer is now out on loan. I could click to check that back in. And it's a similar process. Add a note if I want, click return. And now the email has been sent out to that user as well as the admin account listed in the settings. So very easy to use it. There are a couple of additional final things I wanted to show you before we wrap up. One, as I mentioned, under settings and scripts, there is a script called import user information from AD and import user information from Azure AD. I'm not going to go into the details of how to set these up and use them right now, but basically the idea is you can pull in a full name, email address, phone number, department, external ID, and have those additional fields auto-populate in the Loaner Checkout Extra because we've added that information to those user records. So that was one thing. This is where you go to install that. And then the other thing I wanted to make sure I showed you was under forms. So we see a list of manually created forms that are here on this demo server. If you haven't created forms before, when you hit this page, it'll be blank. There is another video for how to create forms, but what I wanted to quickly show you is that this user form that we linked to one of those emails that happened during the checkout process. I just wanted to give you a quick idea of what this looks like. So you see there's a signature box here. There's some other information about the asset that is being checked out, who it's being checked out to, other user details about that user. And then the signature box is where that hand-signed signature will actually be added. And when that email goes out, this form gets added as an attachment PDF to that email. So that's as far as I'm going to go in this particular video. Again, reach out to us at support@sassafras.com with any questions about this process. But otherwise, that was everything for this video. Thank you.